morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. We're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria's Commercial Nerve Center. I'm Jeffrey Uzama, and I'm always with my goons. That's what they call it.
Lol and goons. Well, we hope that your hearts are calm, your minds sharp and alert, and your hearts filled with gratitude. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
You know, it's funny how we've Nigerianized some terms. If you were to call someone a goon outside, you'd be like, nah, I'm not your goon, man. But in Nigeria, goon means person, right? But it's a perfect day to start your day with the morning brief. Welcome to the show. I'm Kairi Okikele.
So I think it's always that, that's why they call us cultural orphans and broadcasters sometimes. So they look at us as, you get educated, you get exposed and reformed with this, your elocution. You can't really be British.
No,
you can't be American. Yet you don't want to be Nigerian. You're somewhere in between.
Well, you can be Nigerian, but you speak with the British RP, which is what we inherited.
You're now falling
proudly
into the,
so the British received pronunciation. As broadcast journalist, I'm not in any trap.
Yeah.
I don't sound British. I don't intend to sound British. I am Nigerian, but I like to be able to articulate properly as a trained broadcast journalist, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I just said 1-1. I just said that's why you're considered a cultural orphan.
I'm not a cultural orphan.
1-2. We can't end this in a time.
But it's okay. It's fantastic. The fact that we're able to, upscale and retool our skills to be able to be global citizens the best way we can. But I think the argument and proponent of those things are saying you don't need to be anybody to be accepted as a global whatever that you think you are. That is fine.
You can't let this fly.
Well, I think Jeffrey and I are on different pages but headed to the same destination, so I'd rather not continue to engage.
I don't like that kind of peace or resolution.
There cannot be peace. Guys, what have you been tracking, by the way?
Well, for me, Anna, ladies first.
No, you go first.
We didn't have the pleasure of your presence, so please grace us with your presence.
Okay, if you insist.
And your intellect. Not the price of petrol.
That's old news, by the way. That's old news.
You know I watch that. Whatever is paining you is breaking news.
I thought that was Jeffrey's forte. You have inherited it from him, not having any filters.
No, I'm just watching them smoke.
No, not this morning, Kaidi. Absolutely not. Well, that's how we do it here on the Morning Brief. It's your perfect day starter, and that's exactly why it is. But for trackers, I knew that the threatened NLC strike to protest 50% increase in not in electricity tariff now, telecommunications tariff was headed nowhere.
Ouch.
It was headed nowhere because, announcements to protest against the telecommunications tariff in the first place were belated and they missed the mark completely. They're not going to hit the bullseye and they're never headed to any destination. Why?
Bukola is coming with bazooka. I like this. Go ahead.
No, but it's the truth, because the factors responsible for the increase in electricity tariff in the first place are subject matter just as important that the NLC has not engaged government with, or they've sort of suffered a fatigue in engaging government with, and that is the increase in the pump price of petrol, i.e. diesel, that is also affecting industries, manufacturers, and the telecommunication industry is one of such. So where is it headed? The NLC is saying, okay, we're going to set up committees on both sides of the divide. That's the Nigerian story. What will the committee arrive at? Can the telecommunications industry continue to operate amid such, atmosphere where there are issues of cables being vandalized, where they have to power their systems with the same product for which the price is ever increasing? So these are the real issues. Well, apart from that, it really is surprising, nonetheless, that the Bauchi chapter of the NLC is actually engaging the strike, and it's going ahead, to down tools at this time, regardless of what NLC National is saying. My concerns are, is this because Bauchi is PDP? Why did Bauchi NLC not protest the 70,000 naira minimum wage. By the way, other states are paying well above 70,000 naira. And where is this headed? Well,
whatever they want to do, we'll just be watching and reporting. What's on my mind is that controversy around the IGP is a subject of adjudication now, so I don't want to get to the merits of the case. But it's a bit confusing where we make amendments to laws. The PSC has come out to say, we don't have powers over what happens to the IGP.
That's the Police Service Commission.
The Police Service Commission. But the Section 18 was amended to reflect the fact that the IGP has to serve 4-year term. But every other person, when you get to 60 or you serve 35 years, you're out of the system. But for the IGP, there's an exception to the rule. There's a bit of an inconsistency in the minds and morality of people, but law is not morality. The courts will make that decision.
Is
but
the office of the IGP a political appointment? I'm just asking.
It's appointed directly by the president.
So it is.
Yes, it
is.
is.
Directly. You actually
appointed by the president.
Indirectly for
so
the
there
IGP.
are some sacred cows.
Well, whoever you vote for eventually appoints the IGP, so it's indirect voting. But it's interesting. These conversations are actually...
It's a bit confusing that, just like what happened to Plateau, the same judgment, the same case that took out about a lot of members of the House of Assembly and House of Reps members and Senate in Plateau that ended at the appeal court. That same case got to the Supreme Court and retained the governor. The same case, nothing different. The same issue, the same everything. So again, the
IGP... different lawyers.
No, it's not justice.
I think
justice according to the law.
But it's also according to what you present, what you argue.
Questions. I think we should ask more
critical questions. I don't want to go to the merits of the case.
Are there conversations that take place behind closed doors that we're not privy to, that in fact, protect certain individuals?
Yes, of course.
In fact, they tell you we have to go to a closed door session.
Yeah, and that's exactly, what we should be taking into cognizance this morning as matters shaping, these issues, and not, feign ignorance that indeed there are some things that we're not privy to that, if they, were revealed, will be shaking a lot of tables.
So for the purpose of our audience, so that we'll leave this matter to the courts, the initial law says if you're 35, serve 35 or 60 years, you're out of the system. But in appointing the IGP, Section 7, Subsection 6 of the Police Act says it will serve for 4 years. So when they amended the law, they said because that law says serving for 4 years, irrespective, without prejudice to Section 18, which says 35 and 60, the IGP has to serve out his term. So the question of timing, whether it's favoritism or all of that. The argument here is why 3 of us will serve, you become IGP. When you're 60, you're appointed, you can go on because of the timing of your appointment. But when I'm 60 or 35 years, same thing, we're all out of the system. So that is what Shawore and the IGP will debate in court.
Correctly.
All right, so what do we have to do?
We're starting off with that suspended rally protest by the labor unions over increase in electricity. Not electricity, telecommunications tariff.
Yes, I make that mistake too. They just switch in your face.
Come on. But this is about telecoms this time around. And well, we understand now that committees have been raised to look into this, bringing together the parties. And we take a look at what labor's demands are, as well as striking a balance between business sustainability and customer protection.
And of course, we're going to talk about cancer as we talk about the issue of the world marks World Cancer Day. We'll be speaking with the experts as well as the survivors. Someone who is going to tell our own story of how she was able to beat this very deadly disease. That could inspire a lot of people. It's a good time for you to be part of the program.
Indeed. And we're still with health, and the next one would be on this week's edition of Diaspora Connect. We're touching base with a woman who's breaking barriers and doing her best to ensure that black women in the UK get proper maternal care.
And finally on the show this morning, well, we're speaking with Benjamin Chukwu, a man, get this, he climbed Nigeria's highest mountain, Mount Chapel Wadi. He'll be joining us as he talks about his inspiration for this feat and his love for nature. I'm sure a lot of people are shocked. Oh, really? There's a highest point in Nigeria. It's called Chapel Wadi. Yes.
And I believe it's also the highest point in West Africa.
In the region.
In the region, yeah.
Okay. I ain't doing it. I ain't sorry. I don't like
about not
like
doing
that.
it right.
I ain't doing it. I'm black. I'm African.
He's black too. Is that?
It's fine. You know, there's
a lot of Nigerians have claimed.
There's a lot of blackness in me. Sometimes when it comes to these things, you want to go to this skydiving or some of these very risky things, and your village people, some will be doing. There's a way I want to speak it, but I'm on TV because spoiled everything for me anyway.
Oh dear.
You know when you go, I wanted to say
I'm innocent.
I wanted to go say it in pidgin, but let me move on. So you get there, your mind is telling you, what if today is the day your village people are doing general meeting? You know, you watch those things and they say, oh, it's been successful, then one day the rope cuts. And then somebody there, your brain is telling you, what if today is the day that this rope has woke?
I don't understand that village people matter.
Jeffrey,
I know this is a conversation.
We're very content and fulfilled to have you right here on this desk and on Lunchtime Politics. So you don't have to climb any mountain.
That's what I'm saying. I'm black.
Not even Olumorok. So
no, I can climb Olumorok. I can't climb the rock. But we'll take a quick break, guys. We'll bring you what the papers are saying in the dailies. Join us again in just a moment. Welcome back. Let's get to the papers. So being joined by Adini Ifetayo, a media person, joining us via Zoom. Ms. Ifetayo, thank you so much for coming on the program. Ms. Ifetayo,
thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
All right, fantastic. Let's get straight to The Guardian, which is the very first paper that we're talking about what the headlines are saying. Nigeria braces for impact as U.S. tariff signals fresh inflation concern. They're talking about all the tariffs that have been slammed by the United States President Donald Trump on places like neighboring Canada and down south in Mexico, 25% each, and headed out to China with 10%. And some of these countries have started firing back. So I don't know what your comments are on how it will impact the Nigerian economy and Africa in general.
Especially in the area of should I call it the handouts that they usually give fund for treatment of HIV, AIDS, and all of that. And of course, sometimes they hard time prepare you to look inward. So I just hope that was it not yesterday that Mr. President or FEC, they approved about 1.something billion, to militate against HIV treatment and all of that. So sometimes you don't know what you are capable of until you are pushed to the wall. Yes, it's going to affect, but Nigeria should brace up for the hard time ahead. And I'm sure the government should know how they can, when they say they give subsidy and they can militate against it or come to the rescue of the citizens, because we went through a lot last year. I don't think this one also, it will definitely make an impact or affect the generality, whether goods, individual, household, and even corporate organization. But I just hope government will come up with a policy to ease the tariff that are being imposed by the U.S.
All right.
Because they are one of our highest allies.
Okay, of course, it's going to affect one way or the other, just to bring out those details. But there are two subheads that I would like you to speak to on the front page of The Guardian, which is crude oil import may persist amid revocation, Naira for crude reversal. And also the electricity subsidy may hit 2.4 trillion Naira this year. So those are two strong issues that I would like you to give your own interpretation as to what we are facing in 2025, because there's been a back and forth as to are they going to increase the tariff. Well, they've said 65% of the cost is being defrayed with the increase in the band, the tariff of band A. 35% is being held back or being subsidized, rather, costing about 200 billion Naira. But when it comes to the crude issue, because we have sold our future in terms of crude, right now, we may have to be not just importing PMS, but crude at some point. I would like you to speak to it.
Yes, it's just unfortunate that sometimes if you don't manage your resources, if you don't guide against it, you might end up lacking the same resources that you thought that you had. Talking about our crude oil, I think one of the things that Mr. President can do, not just giving Dangote refinery, Naira swap, you can only buy crude products, with Naira, and to encourage our foreign exchange to ease the, the pressure on Naira. I think they should make it generally all our mineral resources. They should say that if you want to get our crude oil, anything you want to mine, gold, whatever it is, you must, buy it in Naira. You see that Naira will be in demand and all over the world. I'm not sure any other country knows Naira apart from our neighboring country. So then for the band aid, increment, I think the government should need to do something. If they can give subsidy when it comes to fuel and the time pass, I think this is high time they can also give subsidy when it comes to electricity tariff. Yeah.
Mr. Adetayo, let's head to the I think Blueprint newspaper. Just one headline. We'll look at the main story there. Amid U.S. policy shift, Nigeria votes $1.07 billion for health sector reforms. Halves on HIV treatment expansion, Nigeria-U.S. trade relations strain. Experts suggest way out. Your thoughts?
Yes, first and foremost, I think we should look inward, especially in the African continent. You will notice that most African countries, they don't do business with one another. They don't trade as much with one another unless they look for a trade partner from Europe, America, etc., etc. I think it is high time we begin to look inward. And just like I said, if you are pushed to the wall, definitely you will offer something. You will definitely find a way out. It's a good thing that Nigerian vote 1.7 billion. I think this is the highest, to have on HIV treatment and expansion. And not just that, I think today you people will be talking about cancer. There are some treatments that are so, they can drain your resources. Those are the things that government can come in. If you are battling with this kind of disease or sickness, government will subsidize it at 50%. I think this is what think they should be voting money for, but it's okay. Then they should look for, at least let's do more trade with African brothers.
All right, Mr. Adetayo, let's stay with the issue of health. Today is World Cancer Day, 4th of February. The headlines on the Leadership newspaper, which is the next paper we're looking at, says treatment costs wears out patients' families. Breast cancer treatment costs 20 million naira. Deaths of specialists. Late diagnosis limit chances of survival. Nigeria has one radiation oncologist to 20,000 patients. 24 Nigerian women die daily from cervical cancer.
I think these, when they said they should declare emergency, I think in our health sector, the federal government should declare emergency, especially when it comes to the issue of cancer. Imagine 24 Nigerian women die daily from this, from cervical cancer, and those are the things that they can do. And you said one is a doctor or expert to 20,000. That is grossly inadequate. Grossly inadequate. I think those are the areas that the government can come up and say, we are coming up with an initiative. We are going through a cancer, whatever it is. The federal government will subsidize it, maybe 70%. How many people can afford 20 million naira? Or how many people have 20 million naira in their pocket, especially unless you are super rich or politician or something. Right. So, and if governance is all about people, I think this is one of the ways government can come in and subsidize the treatment for cancer.
All right, let's go to Nigerian News Direct. That is a bit more political in their headlines this time. Kaduna Assembly Committee indicts El-Rufai over alleged misappropriation of 423 billion naira. Is that the type?
I think, yes, I think he should not be tried on the pages of newspaper. They should give him a fair hearing, let him defend himself, and I know he's a man of letter. When I see the headline like this, I always wait till the next day or in the afternoon to see the response of those or the individual that said he's been indicted. Of course, and if he's been found wanting, he should meant to face the wrath of law, to pay the price, and that will serve as a deterrent to all our political office holder. You know that you are, the office are being given to you, it's been entrusted, and you must discharge your duty and be transparent about it. You know, transparency is one of the things that is putting our political class in problem. When you are doing things, you know, on a shady deal and all of that, well, I didn't expect much from them than to, of course, indict him, because, you know, it's from another party to another party. It's very rare for you to come from opposition and you want to go scot-free. But let them just give him a fair hearing, and I know he's a man of letter, he can defend himself.
All right, I would like you to speak to this one within the Southwest, where 7 policemen, we understand, were shot and scores wounded in Osun Obaship crisis, where that should be on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. 4 of the youths were killed in SRK community, as alleged. Governor Adeleke has actually ordered arrest, prosecution of perpetrators and sponsors. What's going on?
Yeah, you know, it's just a pity that sometimes whether the gods that made mistake, whether the gods are being bribed when it comes to the issue of ownership, you know, in Nigeria or Southwest, so to say. I think whoever that are involved, thank God the governor has ordered the arrest of the perpetrator. They should be prosecuted and let them serve as a deterrent. And those are the cases they need to make public, to reveal public that whatever you do, there's a price that you need to pay. Whether you do good, there's a price for it. Whether you do the other way around, there's a price you need to pay for it, so that it will serve as a deterrent to others who might want to engage or people might want to use to commit such atrocity.
Well, thank you so much. Totally out of time. Must thank you so much, Mr. Adeni Ifetayo, media consultant and public affairs analyst. These headlines, will continue to look at them and find out exactly what people should just go to the dailies and actually go and find out for themselves what the details are. Thank you so much, Mr. Adetayo.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here once again.
All right, that's as much we can take on the dailies. There are other dailies, by the way. You can check it out online, or just to go by any of the newspaper stands to get a copy of yours. But we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about this issue of telcos and the hikes and all the suspension by the NLC of their protest today. Join us again in just a moment.
Welcome back. And so telecom service providers this morning are probably heaving a sigh of relief following the decision of labor unions led by the NLC to suspend the planned protests against the impending and inevitable increase in telecommunications tariff. But, you know, that, as I said, is inevitable. It will eventually come. But what measure will it take and how will it be implemented? I guess, you know, those are the bigger concerns on the minds of particularly subscribers this morning. And that's why it's also important for us to have this conversation. So joining us this morning is Chief Adiolu Ogunbanjo. He's the National President, National Association of Telecom Subscribers, NATCOMS. He joins us here in our Lagos studio. And we also have Mr. Hamad Sajo, Public Affairs Analyst and the CEO, Future Now Initiative, who's joining us from our Abuja studio. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you so much for coming through this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, naturally, I'll start with you, Mr. Ogunbanjo. You are the President, National Association of Telecom Subscribers. And so the concern for most Nigerians is that 50% increase is rather high. So first of all, break that down for us. What is the implication of 50% increase if it were to be implemented without, well, supposedly with negotiations hitting a brick wall?
Thank you very much. You know, initially they did ask for, the telcos through Alton did ask for, 100%. Then the Honorable Minister Tijani did say, sorry, we will not grant you 100%, but we will tell you we will be given an increase. Then I think about January 7th, 8th, he now said, well, we will be given an increase, but may not be 100%. Then we felt it was 40. We were working on, 40, he said, and we even said that was high. So I think middle of January now said 50%, or was it Monday last week? Yes, Monday last week now said 50%, which was rather too high. But the implication of that is everything that you are now doing will be 50% more. For instance, your SMS, your data costs, your everything on communication services. And apart from the basic needs, food, shelter, clothing, communication is next. It's now become part of the human being. So 50% is rather high.
Are you on that negotiating table? And if you are, I think Nigerians would like to know, so what's the implication of 50% in specificity now? Would it mean we can no longer purchase data for as low as 500 naira for a period? So what would be the minimum for both data, SMS, and calls?
Well, apparently, if, for instance, data costs is, let's look at an example. 1 gigabyte used to cost, let's say, 500 naira. It now means 1 gigabyte will now cost 750 naira. And that is rather much. Calls, again, will be higher. SMS from 4 naira to 6 naira. So if you look at that, the interplay of all that is increased costs of telecom services, which will lead to many other things rising up again in the market, because telecoms is not in isolation of other sectors. So it's a no-no for us, and we wouldn't want a situation where 50% increase will be what they want to now, impose on Nigerians. And that's why we did say, look, a 10% increase will be fine, plus other options, like the telecoms services, the telecoms sector is being owed, and they are also owing. So pay up this, particularly with the banks. The banks are stifling the telecoms industry, the telcos, they're not paying. But beyond that now is, they are also owing themselves. Telco A is owing Telco B. And if that is not enough, well, go to the stock market, do IPOs, initial public offers, and all that. And then plus the 10% increase, all that will, sum up to the fact that we won't want a 10% increase, a 50% increase. 10% plus all these other options will be good.
Well, a lot of revelations there. So even the telcos are also owing each other.
Precisely.
We'll explore that. But let me come to you, Mr. Sajo. And another issue that is at the heart of the matter here is the handling of the increase in planned increase in telecoms tariff by the handling by NLC and the other affiliate unions. Some would say that we've been rather hard on them on this side of the divide. But what are your thoughts on the NLC's handling of this?
Well, thank you very much. I think the first thing we have to consider is the fact that there's a lot of emotions in discussing this, and anybody can understand. We have to sympathize with ourselves. We're at a period where things are very hard, so any adjustment in tariffs in any sector would actually, elicit a lot of emotional discussions. But I think we needed to have a more rational, approach to this issue. The NLC did not address it the way they should have addressed it. Before even the NLC comes into the matter, the affiliate unions that work in the telecoms industry should have been able to engage Nigerians and explain some of these issues very deeply. Our concern, at least some of us, our concern is the fact that, we are aware that the last time a tariff adjustment was made for the telecom industries was 2013. And we are also aware that between 2013 and today, a lot of things have gone, one way or the other. The economy, you can easily understand that there are increases in inflationary figures. There are increases in costs of operational costs, including transportation, fuel, including some other the value of the naira to the dollar for foreign components and the rest. So if we look at all of this, what we are expecting experts or at least players in the field to tell us is that how much does it cost to provide 1 minute of a call? How much does it cost to provide 1 unit of data? If we know these costs, we will now know that whatever adjustments are made, whether they are actually cost reflective or they are not. We're looking at all of these things and then just going on a mass hysteria to say we're going to go on protest. Go on protest over what? Go on protest when you have not even explained to people what really went wrong. The service providers, it's a business. It's not a government enterprise. It's a business. If anybody can put his money into a business, the first thing he will consider is return on investment. And if the person tells you that, look, when I established this thing, but when there was an adjustment in 2013, the minimum wage, for example, was 30,000 naira. Today, the minimum wage is 70,000 naira. If I had refused to implement the minimum wage, I know labor will come after me. So there are other things to consider. I think these labor unions, especially the NLC, should begin to look at issues more rationally and more dispassionately than just looking at them as if, it's always with mass hysteria. Where was labor when, all these years that we're talking about local government autonomy? It's only Nolge that has been fighting for local government autonomy. That's a very strong one. Where was labor when pensioners are going onto the street and dying? Where is labor in a lot of other things that labor is supposed to wake up and protect workers first and foremost, and then Nigerian people if the situation so warrants. So I think Labour wanted to overshoot itself by saying they will protest over this issue. I think the best approach would have been and should be that let's all go around and discuss. I am sure the regulator, NCC, is not accepting a 50% tariff adjustment just because they want to punish Nigerians. They must have considered the interests of ordinary Nigerians in the process of determining. Just like my brother there said, the first request was for 100% increase. And then, the discussions resulted in a 50% increase. We can still discuss more if we so wish, but we cannot. You do not negotiate with somebody, with a threat. You do not say, I'm going to shut down the country. I'm going to go on a protest. I'm going to go on a strike. I mean, you want to negotiate with me on a threat? No, it's not a good method of negotiations. And I think that we need to listen to telecom operators. We need to listen to players in the field. We need to listen to our the regulator, and then come out with a rational position on all of these things.
Mr. Ogunbanjo, he's made some points, saying first, let's know how much it costs to provide the services. I don't know if that's something that has been in the conversation. I know for the electricity sector, for example, they had said, well, if this is how much it costs to generate 1 kilowatt hour or what have you, then this is how much it will cost, or this is how much we should charge. For the petroleum industry as well, I know there was that question around, for example, how much does Dangote's 1 liter cost? And some had said, well, that's his own private business. That's his, it's in his purview to either reveal or otherwise. But for the telecoms industry, is that a conversation we've had? Is that something that is clear such that we know if this is cost reflective or not? But also, are you disappointed that the NLC did not go through with this planned protest, which a lot of people saw as their someone speaking out for them finally, or taking action for them? So 2 questions in one.
The first one you did say was
whether or not we were clear on how much it really costs telcos to provide the services, such that we can say they can lack.
For instance, a 1-minute call, what does it cost? You know, because we are looking at the spectrum. I don't know, they've not really come out with costs per minute, except, you know, the cap has been done by NCC, which has been since 2001, has been capped as 50 naira per minute. And then, like he did say, 2013, there was an increase, but from then, you know, nothing was increased up till last week, Monday. To actually tell you the costs, I think they haven't worked that, except, you know, what NCC has said, you know. It's unlike other sectors, you know, you have to, yes, they also must look at diesel costs, electricity costs, equipments, and all that. But the radio equipment costs, you know, they put on their masts, all that, they haven't really come to tell us this is what it costs. Then we will now determine how much will be the add-on. Now, be that as it may, there is no way a businessman would not want to make profit. Yes, but for instance, like I did say earlier, the 100% was being demanded for. There is nothing like excessive profit in business. Yeah. But consumers are saying there could be exploitative profit. If they have asked for 500%? I mean, they are in business to make money, to make profit. But that would be excessive. 50% that the NCC granted, we believe, is slightly exploitative.
So are you disappointed in the NLC for suspending this particular protest based on the intervention of government, the SGF, the ministers, and the regulators? Because a lot of people thought, finally someone's speaking out for us, particularly those who were not in support of this tariff hike. So do you think Labour, again, put their foot off the pedal when they were meant to apply pressure, as some people will say?
Labour is having the knee-jerk approach. This is business. I mean, this is not a government thing. These are investors that have come to Nigeria to invest in the economy, and it should be treated as such. They are here for business, to invest, and to have return on investments. A situation where they will be treated as if they are, you know, a government-run establishment is a no-no. Labour, thank God the Secretary to the federal government intervened. Labour shouldn't have embarked on any strike of any sort, or any protest of any sort.
They shouldn't have even thought about it or announced it.
At all.
So what more do they have? What more tool do they have then?
Labour. This is an increase in tariff due to operational costs. This is not negotiating for wages, for things like that. No, this is a business concern, it's a business enterprise, and should be treated as such. I mean, the government is going up and down, trying to win investors. It will send wrong signals if, for instance, Labour now start to harass the telecoms industry by this sort of protest. It will scare investors. I mean, Labour shouldn't come in at all. And thank God for the intervention of the SGF.
Let's take it to Abuja studios. I don't know, for you, sir, what will be the fair percentage? Because he's saying here that 10% may be fair. They're asking for 100%. NCC has approved 50%. Now, the reason I ask, without defending them, they've talked about the issue of their property or their assets being destroyed or being affected, and they have to take responsibility for their assets. So, for context, when the transformer is being destroyed in areas, we all know most of the time is the people in the area that fix those transformers. But nobody comes to the aid of the telcos. They have to take care of their property. So they are calling on government to make it a national asset. So if you touch their asset, it becomes a national problem. They also talked about taxes and levies, over 60 of those taxes and levies, including affluent charges for smoke coming out of their generators. I think MTN reported a loss last year, and they were talking about FX liabilities in terms of leases and loans, and even the volatility of the FX for their operations. So there's a gamut of issues where they are making a case. So there is a case on the side of the consumers like us. There's also a case on the side of the business people like the telco. So what is fair in your books?
I want to tell you that I still stand by what I said earlier, that we cannot begin to rationalize the tariffs without understanding the real cost of the operations. I understand that before the NCC gave approval for this 50% tariff adjustment, the telcos had to provide documents to indicate their costs, per services rendered. Let me tell you, by 2013, when the current regime, the tariff regime, was empaneled, you could actually, understand that at that time, data services, for example, were almost marginal. What we had were just essentially calls and SMS. But today, data is key in the sense that it's affecting not just communications itself, but practically every aspect of our lives and livelihood. I wonder what the financial sector would have been for people who operate bank accounts and the rest, what it will be without the backbone of the telecoms in providing data. I wonder how many people in some of our rural areas would have operated POS if they cannot access data from the telcos. So as at the time this regime was put in place, the current tariff regime, the operations were not as robust as they are today. We did not even have enough smart devices to rely on this thing. So what we need to do is that if we really want to have a fair determination of what it will cost us to pay for these services, we must begin to converse around, getting the real cost of 1 minute of call or one text or 1 unit of data. But that, for me, that is even, I'm sure it's not the main issue. The main issue we should be discussing here, even as consumers of these services, including, of course, the enablements it gives us. Without the telecom services, probably I will not be communicating with you presently from Abuja in Lagos. We need a lot of internet backbone across the country to be able to do a lot of things. So what are we talking about? Whether there is going to be a tariff adjustment or not, what we should have been talking about at this point in time is what is in it for the consumer himself, for the person that consumes the services of the telcos. What is in it for them? How can we enhance the service and make it more efficient? How can we expand access? There are many areas in Lagos and Abuja we can sit comfortably and claim that the services are okay, but there are many areas that are underserved. What are we going to ask of the operators to ensure that they expand to all the underserved areas?
All right, Mr. Ahmad, let's bring it back to
beyond that.
My apologies. Let's bring it back to Lagos because of time. So I could same question to you, but I know you had proposed 10%. You've been in the rooms with this gentleman in terms of this negotiation. As he's talked about quality of service and all of that, that's another kettle of fish entirely. But right now, the argument is about the cost of operation and doing business. They've also made the argument as telcos that they buy parts in dollars and generate revenue in Naira. So when you talk about those FX liabilities, those are where they're talking about an operational cost. Is it really fair to ask them for 10% increase given the environment they deal with? Because we need to be, the business has to be running for us to be able to do any other thing going forward. If it goes down, then this conversation is not important.
Yes, I must say that it is okay by saying they want to increase only by 10%, like we have said. But there are other ways to also raise funds. It is just, the easy way is double the, we're looking for 100%. There are other ways. Like I did say earlier, they are owing themselves. People are owing them as well. The banks are owing them. Then raise money. Nigerians want to invest as well. So bring in more money with a little increase. That's what we're saying. 10% is fine. They need funds to...
You're still going back to loans, though.
Sorry?
Because what you're saying is that they should go and get either direct loans or get equity. That's what you're saying through the stock market.
Go to the stock market, IPOs, initial public offerings. Do all that. If that is not enough, then you probably will now look at the 10%, the people who are owing them, make sure that they pay up, and then the intra-sectoral payment, debts, let them also do that. Then if that is not enough, then let us know if that is not enough. Then put cash on the table, and then we'll discuss.
Well, more importantly, the pressure of the amount that the banks are owing them, which is to the tune of 200 billion naira, and what IT firms are also owing banks on the other hand. If we broke those down, maybe I should take this now to Mr. Sajo. If we broke those figures down, is it not more impacting more on their service than what they would generate from an increase in electricity tariff? What I'm trying to say now is, if banks made up their commitments, to telcos in the payment of the USSD funds for the service fees for operations, wouldn't it impact more on the smooth running of the operations than wanting to take off, defray the cost of their service by increasing tariff on consumer subscribers now who are already overwhelmed with increase in pump price of petrol, commodities? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, let me tell you one very important thing. What basis are you going to use to determine whether the banks are going to pay this amount or that? It's based on the tariff. The tariff regime is the point at which you use, is the measurement you use in determining how much you owe anybody and how much anybody is going to pay you, including banks and other service providers. The important thing in it, like I keep emphasizing, is that there has to be a cost-reflective tariff, and that cost-reflective tariff must be based on the fact that what are the unit costs of providing the service, and then of course the consumer or the subscriber or the user of the services must also be given some incentive. What is in it for the user of the services? We need to discuss all of these things and look at it. But I think whether they get paid from the banks or they go to the stock market, and I think going to the stock market is even the weakest of it all, because people can only invest in your business if they know that there's going to be returns on investment. So the returns on investment is what really matters. So all the conversations, whether it is about tariff, whether it is about mopping up unpaid debt, whether it is everything, should be on the basis of determining what is going to be the return on investment. Because these people are private sector people. They're not government people. They're not going to operate because they have an obligation to the taxpayer. They have an obligation first and foremost to their investment. And so we need to agree that we have to take the discussion to the level at which we understand what is their operational cost. What does it take them to provide 1 minute of call? What does it take them to provide one unit of data? We need to go to that level. And then what are the guarantees they are going to put across for consumers if there's a cost-reflective tariff regime? What benefits are the consumers going to enjoy? And in any case, why are we not asking for even transparency in how the services are managed? So that we as consumers can also manage our utilization of their services in such a manner that we will not feel too hard. It will not be too hard on us. So there are a lot of conversations that should come around this issue of tariff adjustment that we are not even addressing, and so you cannot determine the cost, a fair cost of a fair tariff unless you actually understand the cost. And I think the NCC must have been informed of all these things by the telcos for them to have approved whatever increase they have approved. But we are still on table.
And indeed, that's the kernel of the matter, Mr. Sajo. What indeed is coming to subscribers, particularly as it has to do with, the service provided by the telecom service providers, drop calls, on delivered SMSs, purchase even of, credit through the banks, and then you don't get credited. We could go on and on, about data not pushing and all of that. So will this guarantee improved service delivery? It's an ongoing conversation, and that's why we must anchor at this point. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mr. Hamed Sajo, who joined us from our Abuja studio. He's a public affairs analyst and CEO of Future Now Initiative, and Chief Adeolu Ogunbanjo, the national president, National Association of Telecom Subscribers, NatComs. He's here in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure coming here.
And indeed, from the health of the telecom sector, we move on to the health sector this time around to look at a very important issue that affects a particular group of people within that sector. Stay with us for that very important conversation. We'll be right back.
Well, today is World Cancer Day. February the 4th every year is a day set aside to talk about the issues that concern you and I, really. There's that tendency to think, well, cancer is just for some set of people, but it's something that affects all of us, either directly or indirectly. And this year, yet again, we're talking about those issues. Well, the theme for this year is unique or united by unique, and essentially says that cancer is beyond just a diagnosis, it's beyond a disease, it's about people, and that's what we're talking about today, the people behind that disease. So we're joined on the program by a cancer survivor, founder and CEO, Only Believe Care Foundation, Imalbung Andrew Essien. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, madam.
Good morning, thank you very much.
As I said earlier on, cancer is beyond just a medical diagnosis. It's a deeply personal matter because behind every diagnosis lies a unique human being, like you and I. There's a unique story of pain, a lot of times grief. Then there's the victory that we get from time to time. And naturally, would like to hear your story. You have such a very unique story, which we want to hear about this morning. So please walk us through your story, your cancer story, that is, as a survivor.
My name is Imalbung Andrew. Years back, 2013, I was going about my normal business. I'm a very active woman. For 2013, I was struck by this disease called cancer, precisely breast cancer. While I was preparing for my provisional exams, I registered for ICANN exams. So I was preparing towards that. Suddenly, normally, I used to have a lump under my armpit, And I would take it to a nearby chemist, and they will bring out the pulse, and they will give me Ampiclox. I will take it. After a while, the thing will keep coming up like that, until the nurse told me that I should not bother to bring it back again, because this thing is too frequent. So one of those days, I was having a cool bath, and as I was rubbing myself, my hand suddenly touched a lump, and I didn't know what it was. I showed it to my husband, and immediately asked me to go to the hospital to check. So when I went to the hospital, the doctor told me that I'm not going back, that this is a very serious thing. So I was, they did a lobectomy. They had to do surgery, and they removed the lump to go and test it. After a month later, the biopsy came back, and I was confirmed having breast cancer. And that was the beginning of the ordeal. It wasn't an easy journey for me, because, the doctor, I didn't actually know what to do. The doctor advised me that I should take a quick step towards the treatment, that after 2 years, I will know exactly where I will be. So I was crying, my husband was crying. We needed to take a fast step to ensure that we adhered to all the medical advice that was given to us. So I was referred to a known hospital, National Hospital, and University of Enugu Teaching Hospital. So all the necessary steps were done. I had to undergo the surgery. I did the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy. So it wasn't an easy journey for me, especially during the chemotherapy period. This cancer had to do with division of the cell. So during the chemotherapy period, it was a very dying period for me, because I had loss of hair, I had brittle bones, loss of blood. I was always vomiting, I had diarrhea, loss of strength, and all this and that. So it wasn't an easy period during that time.
Okay, so that's I'm just trying to absorb it. It's quite a lot to take in. And I'm just glad that you're here and you're able to share your story. But tell us, what was the prognosis that the doctor gave you for this breast cancer? And how did you deal with it in your mind? I know that that's another deeply personal aspect of, cancer. And this is important because of those who may, be dealing with cancer at this point in time, so that the information can also help them.
The mind is the seat of recovery. The mind is the seat of recovery. So when I was told I had cancer, it wasn't easy, because I was thinking I would die in the next few years, and that was confirmed by the doctor. My husband is the brain behind me having a stable mind, because he keeps telling me that I'll make it. Anytime my faith wants to fail me, he will encourage me that I will make it. And he will use the scripture to boost my faith. And he will quote different scriptures for me. He will be singing songs for me, encouraging me. So the mind is a seat of recovery. And joy, environment that I live also helped me to survive cancer, because everybody around me tend to love me. Even when I wasn't looking beautiful, they tend to tell me that I'm beautiful, just to encourage me, to put a smile on my face. And my children too were an encouraging factor to me. They keep telling me that I'll make it. So because of the encouragement I had from my immediate family, I was able to tune my mind positively to recovery from the sickness.
Your story is very deep. Is as Kayode has said, is a personal story. And one of the reasons we had to bring you is to encourage a lot of people, and a lot of women are watching this. and they are taking cues as to how to deal with the situation. So what stage was, I know there are different stages of these cancers. What stage was yours?
Mine was stage 2. The thing has started metastasizing, and it entered the lymph nodes. It was stage 2. So the thing started spreading. So I needed to take a fast action to ensure that the cell is being controlled. So it was stage 2 when it has started metastasizing, spreading to the next organs.
Wow, so it has started metastasizing. So let's talk about how long did it take, the treatment, from the point where you got the information, that heartbreaking, very scary information, to the point where the treatment started and where you're now cleared of every form of cancer.
I was diagnosed precisely August 2013. August 2013 to December 2013, we were looking for avenues, ways, where to go to, information, what to do. Then I started the treatment in 2014. 2014, that was when I started the treatment. So the chemotherapy, the surgery took 1 month. So the recovery period of the surgery was the long one because I needed to recover first before I start the chemotherapy. So the chemotherapy, I was given like 8 sessions, which take an interval of 3 weeks, 21 days. You know, when they give you the chemotherapy injection, the first week, the first 7 days, the side effect will start coming out, the vomiting, the diarrhea, the brittle bones, the fatigue, the weakness of every part of the body. Then the second week, you will start recovering from it. Then the third week, you go back again. So it was a session that takes every month repeatedly for like 8 months. So 2015 was the year I started recovery gradually because I lost my memories. I wasn't remembering things anymore. So I started recovering gradually, building the blood system, the blood cells. So I think it took about 3 years for me to recover. Thereafter, I started going for a 3-month test. You have to go for a checkup every 3 months. Then if it's okay, you start going for 6 months. After you're certified 6 months, you start going for 1 year. And presently, I am on 1 year annual test. So precisely, the whole treatment takes about 3-4 years.
Amazing. We decided to bring your story to Nigerians and the world because of the cheery note which your story took, really. And for a lot of people, they just hope and wish this was their story as well, for those particularly battling with cancer. You said that the recovery is basically in the mind, that your mind is the seat of recovery. And I want you to speak to someone out there listening to you and thinking, I love this story. I want this to be my story. And I promise to share with the world when things turn for the better for me. What is that one thing you would tell that person? Because some say at least 70,000 deaths are accounted to cancer in Nigeria yearly. Women account for more than half of those deaths. Naturally, breast cancer, 25% of that, and cervical cancer, less than 20%. So a lot of these people are women as well. So what is that thing you will tell them? Look them in the face and tell them right now.
I'll look into the face of the women. Not only women alone, men equally too are suffering from cancer because, you know, man and a woman, they are made up of cells. So a man can suffer cancer, a woman can also suffer cancer. But in this aspect, we're talking about the women cancer. I want to look into the face of the women and tell them that their life is in their hands. They own their life. So their life is in their hands. What do they want? What do you want for yourself? First and foremost, you must determine what is that thing that brought you to earth, and what are you there to achieve them? So their healing is in their hands. So they need to take a bold step, not having a pity face. Highest what somebody can do to you is, oh, sorry. Oh. So the bulk of the job is within them. So I advise them that they shouldn't sit down, fold their hands, and look for a pity, but rather they should take it, as a business, that the healing depends on them, not by anybody. So I would tell them to take it by faith, pray always, and know that in as much as we are doing the conventional treatment, it is only God that can heal cancer.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's only God that can heal cancer. What the doctors are doing, they are just doing permutation, guesswork.
And I'm counting 2013 when you were diagnosed to 2025 now. That's about 12 years. And here you are. Right. It's only by grace that you're able to tell your story. But for somebody also that is listening, I'd like you to talk to us about lifestyle after cancer. What is it like for a cancer survivor, health-wise, physically? And I gather that there's also an emotional side to it as well.
Okay, I'm now advocating under Only Believe Care Foundation as the Chief Executive Officer and the founder of Only Believe Care Foundation. What I would like to tell people is that cancer is caused by different factors. Number one, the genetic factor, the environmental factor, is caused by the lifestyle that we live. Lifestyle from cradle is caused by pollution, air pollution. So we need to fine-tune our lifestyle, our eating habits, our inactivity. We need to be active. Make our body system to be active, not sitting down one place. By choosing the kind of meal that you take, like I always say that there is death in the pot. There is death in the pot. Every member of the family is not supposed to eat one type of meal. Right. Because two different individuals are coming together as husband and wife with two different blood groups. So what is good for blood group A is not good for blood group B. So individual should be able to, in a home, in a house like this, we should be able to know what is good for blood group O and what is good for blood group
Interesting.
B. And these two will help us to checking cancer.
Well, interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Clearly, one can tell that you have very strong religious grounding. We've been speaking with Imalbong Andrew Essien, cancer survivor, founder and CEO, Only Believe Care Foundation, and she shared her beliefs with you on the show this morning. Thank you so much for your time on the show. I wish you the very best, madam.
Thank you very much for having me here. God bless.
Amen. Jeffrey.
All right, we're not done with the conversation around World Cancer Day. It's a day to create awareness about this very deadly disease. And we're happy that Mrs. Imalbong Essien has been able to share her story. But let's talk to some professionals and expand the conversation even further. Professor Usman Malami Aliyu is the Director General, National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment. He joins us from our Abuja studios. Prof, thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
Prof, we've heard how Imalbong was diagnosed, how challenging it was for her to internalize the news and eventually went on for the treatment. She talked about her coping mechanism and even life after being a survivor. You've seen this time and again. You've seen the ones that have ended up in very cherry endings like this, and you've seen the ones that didn't particularly are not quite exciting. what exactly should we make of this day? Because it's a ritual, but this is an important conversation because it has to do with life and death here.
All right, so thank you very much for that. As we all know, today is World Cancer Day, and we have a new theme for this 2025 World Cancer Day commemoration, and that is United by Unique. What the theme means is that cancer diagnosis is actually a unique entity, and each and every patient is unique when it comes to telling the story surrounding his diagnosis, the treatment he received, the devastating news, the struggles he went through, and also the challenges here and there. So the new theme is preaching for a holistic approach to cancer management. It should not be a one-size-fits-all approach any longer, but all the facets of care need to be integrated to ensure a holistic approach to cancer care. So as each and every patient is unique, we require that each and every individual that is required or that has something to offer in the management of cancer should look at the patient and offer this unique approach to the management of cancer patient. In other words, you are expected to see the person first before the patient. By doing that, we so much believe, according to this theme of this year, that you're going to give a holistic care that is needed for this special type of disease. So as was mentioned earlier, based on this theme, that cancer is not only a disease. There are so many things that are connected to that cancer, and we've just heard from a survivor a story. So it should go beyond that. It should go beyond a holistic care to a more coordinated, personalized care to this special type of patient. So, and that is the theme of this World Cancer Day.
And it's great to have that sort of perspective to cancer, understanding the person beyond the patient, and then you can begin to, administer treatment. But in our own context, it's really tough. Looking at data from the NCS, you see that naturally what you should have is one clinical oncologist to about 200 or 250 plus patients. But here in Nigeria, sadly, because of the Japa syndrome, that a lot of our professionals moving out of the country to apply their profession, what we have now is about one clinical oncologist to 1,800 cancer patients. So how easy would it then be for that one oncologist taking care of 1,800 to see the person when he's even overwhelmed in terms of treatment? Is this thing really applicable in our own context?
All right, so that is actually part of the problem that not only Nigeria is facing when it comes to oncology practice or the care given by the oncologist. Now, if you look at the population of Nigeria, you caught it rightly that there is at least 1,800 patient, one oncologist, 1,800 patients. It's part of the challenges, because of the stringent condition that this specialist found themselves. A lot of challenges have been put forward actually by these specialists, which cut across availability of practicing equipment like treatment machines, like the availability of linear accelerators, the availability of suitable well-care packages for them, and a very good practicing environment. But I can assure you, with the coming of this administration, that's the administration of His Excellency Bola Tinubu, despite the Japa syndrome that has loomed virtually the country, there has been an increase in the provision of those cancer treatment equipment. If you can see, before the advent of this government, we were having like, let's say, 3 or 4 functional centers, virtually in the whole country. But during the first year, just last year, Mr. President approved the procurement of 6 brand new cancer treatment machines to 6 centers of excellence within the country. So you can see we have the government has more than doubled the provision of those equipment. And then currently this year, the institute, that is the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, is also planning to provide a state-of-the-art screening services in these 6 geopolitical regions. This has never happened before. It is going to happen for the first time. And more equipment which cut across the nuclear medicine that is highly needed to provide specialized services to this cancer patient, as well as more linear accelerator. So I think with this, the government is trying its best to actually provide the needed tools that these oncologists are using. Because most of the oncologists, if you ask them, okay, yes, I've graduated, so what do you want me to do? If I stay in Nigeria, I do not have any center where I can go and practice what I've learned. After all, I've been invited, or I've gotten a better job outside in a center where you can have like 4, 5, 6 cancer treatment machine where I can go and upgrade my skill, and so on and so forth. So with this, we hope that, and if you check virtually most of the centers that we are providing this new equipment, you can see that the newer graduates that we have, the new oncologists, are the ones that are occupying these new centers. So there is, in some ways, some form of retention through this innovation of the current government. And
so, Prof, besides the presence of the infrastructure and the increased infrastructure, there's also the issue of accessibility and affordability of the treatment itself for cancer patients. It is cheery to note that our guest, the cancer survivor, Mrs. Andrew, was able to access treatment here in Nigeria, but perhaps she's one of the privileged few. Stories about treatment, to the effect that a chemotherapy session costs between 600,000 to 1.5 million, depending on the type of cancer involved. So is this administration's health sector renewal initiative, or its sector-wide approach, fit for purpose to ensuring accessibility and affordability, for advanced terminal diseases like this and others, that for people that may be treating it for a lifetime?
All right. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, if you look at what the Federal Ministry of Health is doing in collaboration, with NICRA through the Federal Ministry of Health, the Honorable Minister for Health and Social Welfare, Prof. Alipate, has a special interest, in ensuring that the needed healthcare provision services that are needed by our community is actually provided to their doorstep. And it was true that he decided to bring about this widespread approach to healthcare services. And cancer is actually not exempted. Now, if you could remember, just last year, we have an access, what we call cancer access program in the country. And this cancer access program, which is under now our agency, that is the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, is contain two parts. The first one is what we call the Cancer Health Fund. This is a special fund that is set aside for the support of indigent patients to access cancer treatment in the country. It has been piloted in virtually the 6 regions. We have cancer centers in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And this cancer health fund has been accessed by many, and we also have another program that we call the NCAP, through which the Federal Ministry of Health and NICRAD enter into an agreement, which we call we sign an MOU with pharma companies that provide the chemotherapy, the targeted therapy needed by the cancer patient. And this pharma companies will provide the qualitative medications that are needed for the treatment of this cancer patient at 50% rate of the original cost of these drugs. And in turn, we worked with the Federal Ministry to secure a waiver through NAFDAC and the Immigration Customs Service for them. So through this access initiative, the government has drastically improved accessibility to that. And I've just mentioned the provision of brand new 6 cancer treatment equipment, which we hope or intend to complete by 2nd to 3rd quarter of this year. And this will also improve access, improve availability of the services that were hitherto not available in the country. The provision of the screening services that we are currently working on. We've already procured the machine, and we are currently renovating and constructing sites within the 6 geopolitical zones to ensure that people that have suspected cancer cases can walk and get themselves screened. And once screened, if you are positive, we are hoping that at that stage, we will be able to cure, because it's expected to be at a very early stage. If you don't feel anything and you walk for screening and something is detected, you have a very high chance of cure, because it's presenting early, and it's cheaper and it's safer for virtually almost all the country.
All right,
so,
Prof.
Through that, we hope to improve the accessibility of the needed services vis-a-vis.
All right, Prof, 2 quick questions, if I may come in, Prof, just a moment. The screening, this one you're talking about in these centers, is it subsidized? Is it free? Just to re-emphasize, for the purpose of our audience.
Yes. It's free. Cancer Health Fund is free. All what you need to do when you present yourself in 6 of these centers is to ask your doctor, your oncology doctor, that you are in need of these services. And then he will assist you to go online and apply for this cancer health fund. But there are certain criteria. You have to satisfy those criteria before you are actually allowed to enroll on the platform. That is, you have to be an indigent patient.
Just a moment, because of time, Prof. Sorry, I have to be cutting in to manage time. So these centers, what state are they in? Because I have a basic question. I just need this to be just to put this on record.
All right.
These centers, what states, where are they?
Okay. So in the North Central, we have Abuja, the National Hospital. If you go to the Northwest, we have ABU Zaria. If you go to Northeast, we have Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe. If you go to Southwest, we have University College Hospital Ibadan. If you go to South-South, we have UBTH, University of Benin Teaching Hospital. And then currently this year, the institute, that is the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, is also planning to provide a state-of-the-art screening services in these six geopolitical regions. This has never happened before. It is going to happen for the first time. And more equipment which cut across the nuclear medicine that is highly needed to provide specialized services to this cancer patient, as well as more linear accelerator. So I think with this, the government is trying its best to actually provide the needed tools that these oncologists are using. Because most of the oncologists, if you ask them, okay, yes, I've graduated, so what do you want me to do? If I stay in Nigeria, I do not have any center where I can go and practice what I've learned. After all, I've been invited or I've gotten a better job outside in a center where you can have like 4, 5, 6 cancer treatment machine where I can go and upgrade my skill and so on and so forth. So with this, we hope that, and if you check virtually most of the centers that we are providing this new equipment, you can see that the newer graduates that we have, the new oncologists, are the ones that are occupying this new center. So there is, in some ways, some form of retention through this innovation of the current government.
And so, Prof, besides the presence of the infrastructure and the increased infrastructure, there's also the issue of accessibility and affordability of the treatment itself for cancer patients. It is cheery to note that our guest, the cancer survivor, Mrs. Andrew, was able to access treatment here in Nigeria, but perhaps she's one of the privileged few. Stories about treatment, to the effect that a chemotherapy session costs between 600,000 to 1.5 million, depending on the type of cancer involved. So is this administration's health sector renewal initiative or its sector-wide approach fit for purpose to ensuring accessibility and affordability, for advanced terminal diseases like this and others, that for people that may be treating it for a lifetime?
All right. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, if you look at what the Federal Ministry of Health is doing in collaboration, with NICRA through the Federal Ministry of Health, the Honorable Minister for Health and Social Welfare, Prof. Ali Pate, has a special interest, in ensuring that the needed healthcare provision services that are needed by our community is actually provided to their doorstep. And it was true that he decided to bring about this wide sector approach to healthcare services. And cancer is actually not exempted Now, if you could remember, just last year, we have an access, what we call cancer access program in the country. And this cancer access program, which is under now our agency, that is the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, is contain two parts. The first one is what we call the Cancer Health Fund. This is a special fund that is set aside for the support of indigent patients to access cancer treatment in the country. It has been piloted in virtually the 6 regions. You know, we have cancer centers in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And this cancer health one has been accessed by many, and we also have another program that we call the NCAP, through which the Federal Ministry of Health and NICRAD enter into an agreement, which we call we sign an MOU with pharma companies that provide the chemotherapy, the targeted therapy needed by the cancer patient. And this pharma companies will provide the qualitative medications that are needed for the treatment of this cancer patient at 50% rate of the original cost of these drugs. And in turn, we worked with the Federal Ministry to secure a waiver through NAFDAC and the Immigration Customs Service for them. So through this access initiative, the government has drastically improved accessibility to that. And I've just mentioned the provision of brand new 6 cancer treatment equipment, which we hope or intend to complete by 2nd to 3rd quarter of this year. And this will also improve access, improve availability of the services that were hitherto not available in the country. The provision of the screening services that we are currently working on. We've already procured the machine, and we are currently renovating and constructing sites within the 6 geopolitical zones to ensure that people that have suspected cancer cases can walk and get themselves screened. And once screened, if you are positive, we are hoping that at that stage, we will be able to cure, because it's expected to be at a very early stage. If you don't feel anything and you walk for screening and something is detected, you have a very high chance of cure, because it's presenting early, and it's cheaper and it's safer for virtually almost all the country.
All right,
so,
Prof.
Through that, we hope to improve the accessibility of the needed services vis-a-vis.
All right, Prof. 2 quick questions, if I may come in, Prof. Just a moment. The screening, this one you're talking about in these centers, is it subsidized? Is it free? Just to re-emphasize for the purpose of our audience.
Yes. It's free. Cancer Health Fund is free. All what you need to do when you present yourself in 6 of these centers is to ask your doctor, your oncology doctor, that you are in need of these services. And then he will assist you to go online and apply for this Cancer Health Fund. But there are certain criteria. You have to satisfy those criteria before you are actually allowed to enroll on the platform. That is, you have to be an indigent patient.
Just a moment, because of time, Prof. Sorry, I have to be cutting in because to manage time. So these centers, what state are they in? Because I have a basic question. I just need this to be just to put this on record.
All right.
These centers, what states, where are they?
Okay. So in the North Central, we have Abuja, the National Hospital. If you go to the northwest, we have ABU Zaria. If you go to northeast, we have Federal Teaching Hospital Gombe. If you go to southwest, we have University College Hospital Ibadan. If you go to south-south, we have UBTH, University of Benin Teaching Hospital. If you go to southeast, we have UNTH, Enugu. All these centers, they have been providing these services. And we intend, we've been interfacing with the National Assembly and other philanthropists in the country to improve funding into this cancer health fund, because what we got for the fund last year was 200, and you know it will not be that enough. So we are hoping to increase it remarkably so that at least we will be able to cover more Nigerians with these funds.
So is there a collaboration with states for this cancer health access program, or is it just federal civil servants who may need this health intervention that are eligible to access it? How can Nigerians across board access the cancer health program?
All right. So thank you very much. I've mentioned earlier that what we got for the cancer health fund from the budget was 200 million. So it was minimal, and it was out of the wisdom of the Federal Ministry of Health and the NICRAD, that is the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, an agency that currently manages this fund, to limit the coverage because of the amount that we have to 3 cancers. And that is what I've mentioned earlier, that is the pilot. We cover the breast, cervical, and prostate cancer, and we limited it to these 6. Our hope that if we got a better funding this year, we're going to open the program to include virtually all the tertiary hospitals in the states to be the hub for the referral. Then we have the sub-hub, which are general hospitals within the country that offer some form of cancer treatment services vis-a-vis the surgery. And we have also feeders. The feeders are the primary healthcare centers that we have in the country. This we have all completed because we divided the expansion program into phases, and we are done with the phase 1. We are currently in the phase 2, interfacing with the National Assembly to get more funding, so that once we have that, we have a robust referral system from the primary healthcare. You can be referred to general hospital where you can be able to access some form of the healthcare services if it is surgery. We know that radiotherapy and some other more sophisticated treatment are not available in the general hospital, but we have opened a referral system, a very good referral system, that from there, if you are on this, you'll be tracking, you can be referred to the nearest centers of excellence in your state, depending on the region you are, and you can access services.
Quite some important information. I wish we had more time, but there's not much time because I wanted to see, because of the seriousness of the disease and the shortness in terms of personnel, whether we could look at BOT, EPC financing model to be able to cover the grounds. But because in response across economic strata is one of the reasons why we're recording fatalities as we do. But we must thank you, Professor Osman Malami Aliyu, Director General, National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, joining us from Abuja studio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll bring you another part of the conversation. Join us again.
We're turning our attention to a very important conversation. You know, it's quite interesting that you find them in the markets, you find them strong in the homes, worship centers. But when it's time to talk about issues that really matter, a lot of times they're missing, or at least what matters to them are not really talked about. I'm talking about women. And today we turn our attention to maternal health in particular. It's Black History Month, yes. It's going to be Valentine's in a few days' time. And all of a sudden people realize how much love we have for our mothers and our women. But no, we need to show that every single day. And this morning we're talking about something that is not usually talked about, and that is maternal health, particularly for mothers, Black mothers, African mothers, as the case may be. We have joining us on the program Christina Brown, who's the founder of the Motivational Moms Club. Good morning, Christina. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning.
What birthed this movement for you? Maybe a short story as to why you're doing this, because for a lot of people, they're like, well, we don't really talk about these things. We just move on. You have to be fine. You have responsibilities to take care of. So just suck it up and move on. But what birthed this for you?
No, absolutely. What birthed the Motivational Moms Club is that I've got two very beautiful children. I birthed them in the UK, and I was a very career-driven Black woman in the investment banking industry. And what happened was, because I had my children too close together, I decided to resign from my career and really focus on being at home with my children and my family. And I very quickly realized that a lot of Black women felt isolated, didn't feel seen, and there was a lot of trauma from their birthing experience. And I really wanted to dive into why. Why are we not talking about this? Why is this not being mainstreamed? And to really shine a light on such an important topic that affects from when a woman gets pregnant, all the way to her birthing experience, to when she actually has her child in her hands. And it's something that we don't talk about often.
Interesting. So what have you found out? It's said that women sacrifice a lot, and you see some men saying, we also sacrifice a lot.
Yes.
But what are the peculiarities for women particularly that looks like people don't quite understand? And it's important to represent these voices, and that's why we're having this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So in the UK, when I was going into my research and really trying to understand why we're not talking about it, I quickly realised that Black mums in the UK are 4 times more likely to die during childbirth. And this is for many reasons. And I really wanted to tackle that and to really work alongside the healthcare professionals to reduce those disparities. Despite the fact in the UK, Black mums only account for 5% of deliveries in hospital. Now, when I do raise awareness on all of this, I always do say the UK is the safest place, one of the safest places to give birth. However, where I come in is to challenge that statistic, to really understand why are we as a Black community, Black mothers are at a higher risk of dying during childbirth. And that's where I come in to really challenge that, and also to help Black mums advocate for themselves and to feel safe and seen without any consequences of them feeling unsafe.
And I really hope that this is yielding fruits, because it's a tall order. It's like swimming against the tide, fighting the system that has been like that for years. It's really big. But you just realize that we have a lot of health professionals in the UK that are Black. We just talked about the Japa situation here in Nigeria. You have a lot of people moving there, being a part of that system. So it's sort of an irony that system that is made up of people who are of African descent is not really doing quite well for the same people of African descent. It's sort of a contradiction and irony of sorts. But I'd like you to also speak about how well this is catching on, how much of a fight you're putting up, and how the system is fighting back, if it is fighting back.
Yes, the system is fighting back, and there is a lot of work that still needs to be done. However, there is an improvement with the stats. It is reducing, and what we're seeing is that when they work with community leaders like myself, who are on the ground and have that great relationship with Black mothers because of my work, every week I am in the community delivering weekly peer support groups for Black moms with a midwife on site for them to learn about our culture, to listen about the birthing stories, the good ones and the bad ones, but then also for them to gain cultural intelligence about a community that never felt safe, a community that is the highest to die during childbirth, but then yet also the highest to not gain access nor want access for their mental health because of the trauma that they've been through. So that's where we do see an improvement, because they're working with us in collaboration, the likes of myself. There's so many where we are making a difference. We are on the ground and we are holding the healthcare sector accountable for these stats to ensure birthing experience is fair and great for everyone, despite your religion, despite your skin color.
So I wanted to find out from you, are you suspicious of anything systemic? And what are the stories you're hearing practically that we could take home as far as what you're doing is concerned?
Yeah, so you rightly said it in regards to systemic, and there is systemic racism, and it is embedded even in the textbooks. When we talk about when someone is hemorrhaging, we don't talk about, nor do they even are educated about how does that look like on black skin. You know, we don't go red, we don't go pale. So how do you spot these very, very important life-changing events when it comes to a black mum to reduce all of those things? So yes, you are rightly correct in terms of systemic racism. And that's where I also come in to provide that training, to really challenge that and to wipe that all out from textbooks, and to really look at other symptoms that black mums can demonstrate to show that they are potentially at risk of an unfortunate event during this process that should be a beautiful one for her and her family and whoever is witnessing this. So we are tackling that systemic racism, and also, most importantly, giving those mums that opportunity to really advocate for themselves as well. Because a lot of the time in the UK, we don't want to talk because we don't want to be deemed as that angry black woman that doesn't know how to control her feelings, or she's not listening. So it's really giving the black mums the tools to really get their point across, to be listened and heard, but most importantly, included in her care.
Not even talked about postpartum depression and all of those other things. But Christina, we have to thank you so much for spotlighting these issues. These are uncharted territories, and wish you the very best. We're speaking with Christina Brown, founder of the Motivational Moms Club. Thank you for motivating moms, and all the best.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll tell you the story of a man who climbed to greatness, climbing the highest point in Nigeria. He's right here with us in our studio, so stay with us. So we'll be right back.
Indeed, health is wealth, right? And if it is only when you are healthy that you can embark on adventures, and we hope that it stays that way. But we're joined by an adventurer this morning to talk about what his driving force is to go on adventures. Let's welcome Mr. Benjamin Chukwu, a fitness expert and an adventurer. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels TV.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I was reading about you, and I found out that you have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro before your Chapawadi adventure.
Oh, yes.
And you have also gone to Mount Chapawadi.
Yes.
Amazing. So what's your driving force?
My driving force is I love to push my limits. You know, I love to do things that challenge me physically and mentally as well. And of course, I love to do things that I feel will inspire people to, also, do great things.
So for Nigerians who are asking, okay, he's an adventurer, who adventurer help?
Yeah.
Can you take adventuring to the bank? So how do you fund your adventures?
Okay, adventure sports, I can understand it's not it's not a strong, sports in Nigeria when you compare that to football, But one has to be a trailblazer. You need to have role models, people who have succeeded in that sport, and become a role model for others, So I'm hoping to be that person, who would, get in there and succeed, despite the challenges and setbacks, and of course, set the example for Nigerians to become adventurers and explorers as well.
So how do you fund your adventures? That's a critical aspect of the conversation.
Very important question. People ask that questions. Adventure sports can be expensive. You have to buy gears, and if you're traveling out of the country, you pay permits, flying, accommodation, and all that. So far, it's been quite challenging. It's been self-funded, And yes, I have friends who support me in their own little way, but it's been a challenge, and it's basically self-funded.
So now let's get right into the heart of the conversation.
Yeah.
I imagine it's not a venture for the faint-hearted, climbing mountains.
Yeah.
What do you do to become resilient, and what's the climbing terrain like for mountain climbing?
Okay, so first you need to build your mental strength. And of course, you need to build your fitness level, because that will help you when you have needs to be resilient, So the terrain is very rugged. You see, when people say you can move mountains, you can hear that. For people who are Christians, the Bible talk about mountains. Mountains can be really tough. They can be really. You have to build your fitness. You have to build your cardiovascular health. You have to build muscular strength and endurance. Of course, you have to be mentally strong, to climb mountains, because it will challenge you. For example, when I was doing Mount Kilimanjaro, that was the most physically demanding thing that I've ever done, heading to the summit. But I was able to, physically, my energy was drained, but I had to focus on where I was going, and had that picture in mind, because there is this saying, I tell people that you need to have two main character traits as a mountaineer. First is the vision. You can envision and picture that you're going to the summit. The next is persistence.
Is there any form of mental preparation that you need to embark upon, to build that mental resilience that you require to help you get to the summit and not give up somewhere along the way?
Yes, meditation. You need to meditate. You need to have deep thinking, sit and envision it, because it will get to the point, the higher you go, the lesser the oxygen, and the more it becomes more demanding on your physical body. So
the higher you go, the lesser the oxygen.
Oh yeah, when you're climbing, say like an Everest, there's a place they call the death zone. The death zone is from 26,000 feet above sea level, where the oxygen level is it's very limited. It's very little to sustain human life. So you have to be mentally strong. You have to be mentally prepared for the challenge.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are the dangers that you encounter in the mountain terrain besides the diminishing levels of oxygen, particularly for Mount Chapawadi? I'm told that it's also called Mountain of Death. Did that scare you when you were going to embark on that adventure?
No, because I have done Mount Cameroon, which is higher than Chapawadi, and I've climbed Mount Stanley, which is also higher than Chapawadi, and of course I've been to Kilimanjaro. So I said, oh, I can't do that. The reason I was first to climb Chapawadi was because I'm confessing that was because people keep asking me, oh, you've done this mountain, have you done the highest in Nigeria? I said, I have to do that because Nigeria, this is my home country, and they say charity begins at home. Before going to Everest, Mount Everest, I have to do Chapawadi. So, yeah. So, but Chapawadi was quite challenging. You know, it's because part of the reason was the trails. The trails are not. We don't have proper trails compared to the way you have in Kilimanjaro and Mount Everest. So government needs to do a lot in that area. So the trails are not, you know, well structured. You get so it was quite challenging. And you also know that So what compass do you now deploy when you're trying to find your way through exactly to the exact point where you're headed, without trails? Okay. Usually when you're climbing mountains, you have guides. You know, so these are people who are, they're usually locals there, you know, so they put you through. You get, so it puts you through. So it's these are done with proper planning. You need to plan. When you're climbing a mountain, you need to have an itinerary. It's not something you embark on. Okay, one more question. We're almost out of time. What does it feel like to be at the summit? It feels great. That sense of accomplishment, that sense that something that you've always been dreaming about, you've achieved it. So it's you have that sense of accomplishment. That's, look, you finally made it to the summit. And I feel a sense of accomplishment having conducted this interview. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin Chukwu. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, which mountain are you climbing next? Everest, but before Everest, I plan to do the Loboch Peak, which is 6,149 meters. Yes, before, so it's a preparatory climb to Everest. To Everest. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Benjamin Chukwu, fitness expert and adventurer. Somebody's taking on the challenge to do a mountain climb after you, and that's Jeffrey, who's standing with Kadi to bring you trends. I ain't doing it. I'm black.
Well, let's climb on the trends right now.
Thank you for the offer, but I ain't doing it. Thank you.
All right, so let's climb our own peak. That's what's trending right now. And it's getting messy, it would seem, between the governor of Kaduna State, Obasani, and his predecessor, Nasir El-Rufai. Just this morning, Mr. El-Rufai put out a tweet in response to an interview which Governor Obasani granted, where he spoke about those coming together to form a coalition, saying that most of them are politicians who didn't do quite well. And it sounded like an indirect or direct aim at attack at shots fired. Mr. El-Rufai. So he penned a statement on X, and this is what he put out. The second paragraph is where may catch your fancy, saying that every day I see this governor, referring to Obasani, embarrassingly in his words and psychophantically rambling. I used to wonder why. However, confirming that federal government reimbursements, intervention and grants in excess of 150 billion naira have been given, in his words, selectively to Kaduna State by Tinubu in the last 18 months now explains everything. A lot in this statement, Jeffrey.
There's a lot. It's 150 billion. So maybe we begin to ask questions. That's if I was to interview Obasani right now and say, okay, explain the 150 billion part. Apparently, there's a lot of politics going on, but this is why I like politics. Yeah. Exposures. Right. You remember Dogara, Yakubu Dogara, former speaker, same thing. Taking a swipe at Bala Mohammed and gave exposure when they was talking about Nyesom Wike and some of the things that were exchanged in between those conversations. So that's why I like political fights. For me, as far as they are not killing themselves and they're exposing themselves, I'm fine by it.
We just need to be sure who they are fighting for in this case. Is it the people or their political ambition?
Keep it coming.
Another fight, Jeffrey, is the one between Kenyan Airways and the Nigerian traveler who was, in a lot of ways, stressed, embarrassed, some will say. And we saw that video coming out. A lot of people were concerned about the treatment of the Nigerian traveler by Kenya Airways. But Kenya Airways has put out a statement explaining their own side of the story. And Kenya Airways essentially tried to put a context to that video. You could hear the woman on the phone saying, I need food, I need to be lodged, and the official saying, call your president. I don't know if she called the president eventually, but I think that escalated too far. But Kenya Airways said that she was traveling from Lagos to Nairobi, Paris, and Manchester, and on arrival in Nairobi for a connecting flight, it was discovered that she did not have a Schengen visa and all of that. But we are happy to announce to you that the woman has now arrived. She's returned to Lagos, and she's been received by Nigerian officials. So there you go. That's her arrival in Lagos this morning.
Right. So, good one. As far as this is concerned, we've made progress, but we need to investigate how people are treated, because we know there are citizens that cannot be treated no matter the context. But I think the last one we'll take care of that has to do with the Osun State government on that viral video.
The Ogun State government, right?
Ogun State government, rather viral. It's investigative, the viral video of the, what do you call this now?
Man?
Yes, in the for local government area, subjecting a chief known as Ariola Abraham to dehumanizing treatment. So whether it's a ballet or whoever is a monarch there who was actually mistreating this elderly man, the Ogun State government has swung into action to ensure that this doesn't repeat itself again.
Yeah, and the police has invited those concerned, and the police has promised that justice will be served in this case. Very embarrassing video, terrible. Something that
very terrible. Yes, please. It's a bit sensitive to some of our viewers, so I advise discretion in seeing this video.
So let's end on a cheery note.
Yep.
Didier Drogba, for a lot of people, is their best footballer. Well, Okocha is mine. He was in Lagos yesterday, meeting with Governor Sanwo-Olu. He was in Lagos for football. He was in Lagos for esports, actually. So that's the E1 racing team to explore racing opportunities in Lagos. So there you have it. Didier Drogba.
Well, we're going to maybe the Lagos Coastal Highway is going to make a good one for some of these races. We need to have this kind of, turnings around Nigeria. So some of these works. Okay, I remember where it's going to work for now.
Tell me.
Eco Atlantic. Spaces. That place is quite free.
Because
now.
It's not really in use.
Yeah, it's not really used. So just like a gentleman went to crash the vehicle one day, and he was calling for help.
I think Sanwo-Olu is an Arsenal fan, if I'm correct.
I think Sanwo-Olu is an Arsenal fan.
And then DJ Drogba at Chelsea. I'm sure they must have had a banter.
A lot of the men in the establishment are Arsenal fans.
Right?
I don't know.
There's something about Arsenal fans.
I'm a Chelsea fan, so it's okay.
Well, I support Nigeria.
Bukola joins. Let's see.
So Jeffrey, if you're not taking on the challenge of mountain climbing, will you at least show off your Niger Delta skills and go on the Atlantic and do a boat racing?
No, I can do that. I can do that.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a challenge.
The Atlantic Ocean. My community, somewhere close to my community, has the Atlantic Ocean. So that's actually where I learned to swim. So
there you have it. Yeah. Jeffrey will report live from the Atlantic.
Yes,
very soon.
With fish in my hand.
We have to anchor at this point, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kayode Okikelu.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
Sunrise Daily is up next. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow. I am Bukola Koka. Stay with Channels TV.
Let's go.